Hi everyone, it's Ketan Makwana here from Enterprise Lab. I hope you're well. Welcome to another episode of the League of Disruptors show. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, have I. I'm really excited about this one. I've been tracking this guy for ages, and finally I've got him on the show. I have the one and the only AJ Mihrzad on today with us live for 1 hour, and we're going to be dropping some serious bombs today. Serious bombs, basically. We're going to be talking about why you need to stop trading dollars, hours for dollars, and AJ is going to take you through what it takes to build a business that will give you freedom. That's going to give you freedom. This one's really worth waiting for. AJ, what's up, brother? How are you?
Hey, brother, I'm doing good. Such an honor to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
No, the pleasure's all mine, brother. How's it all going over in New York?
It's great. It's actually decent weather over here, fall time in New York. Not too hot, not too cold, so perfect time of year. Amazing. So look, I know that there's a lot of people that already know who you are, and I'm sure they're going to be sort of tapping into this tune, but there are also followers here in the UK that are watching this program that need to know all about the Super Coach. So AJ, tell us your story. How did you get to where you are today, and what is it that you're doing? Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, how far back did we go? So, I started off, I guess, my business journey as a personal trainer. And at first, I was super passionate about it because I was an overweight kid myself, 60 pounds on my heaviest at it all, man boobs, big old cheeks, belly. And I found that fitness changed my life. I lost the weight, I got in shape, and I was so inspired to help others that I started personal training. And it was great at first because I was just fueled on passion. I was getting my clients results, and I was just having a referral-based business. And over time, I started to basically accumulate more and more clients. I was getting up at 5 a.m., worked until 9 p.m. And the first few years, I didn't mind it. I was like, I could do this. I could just train people back to back to back. But then I was going home, I was answering emails, had customer service stuff, and I was getting overwhelmed. And it got to a certain point, after like 6-7 years of doing this, I started getting burnt out because I was so focused working in my business that I wasn't taking time off for myself. The nature of a personal training or coaching business is you're working hour by hour, trading time for money. So I was in a place where I couldn't take time off, right? If I took a vacation, I would lose money. And I had this insecurity that if I went away for too long, my clients would leave me and find someone else. So literally for a 10-year period from 2000 2010, I did not take a vacation.
What?
I was burnt out. I was frustrated. And it was a point where I was getting a bad taste in my mouth for the whole personal training business. So that's when I decided this is not something I could sustain for long periods of time because I don't want to become an 80-year-old personal trainer. So that's when I discovered that, there's got to be a better way. Instead of training people in person, how can I take my skills online? So that's what led me to really delving deep into the online world.
Amazing. But 10 years without really taking a break. I mean, that word burnout that you just said, I mean, that's an understatement there. To the fact that, you have to grind it all out. And it's really interesting that you bring that point on, especially about the personal development and the coaching and the training industry, where each of the hours that you're spending with your client, with the clients is the bread and butter of your business. At the end of the day, you've got these cycles of spending all day with your clients and then having to go off and do all that administration in the evenings, the balances of what's coming on. I mean, 10 years without really sort of giving yourself a break. What's happening to your social life? What was really happening to your human life, the life outside of your business? Was that like non-existent?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I literally became a workaholic, because I was so focused on growing my business, serving my clients, always being there for them. So obviously training the clients in person, and then their text messages and phone calls, they need more support, emails. So I was like, this is what I have to do. I have to serve them, but I was destroying my relationships, my friendships. I didn't have a social life because I had to get up every day at 5 a.m. So I couldn't go out in the evenings. On the weekends, I was training clients. It's prime time. So it led me to really getting burnt out. And even myself, I was the epitome of health when I got into personal training, but by the end of my training career, I started getting overweight again. I was getting sick. I was getting tired, obviously not sleeping properly, not taking care of myself.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you with this. And then, you're not taking care of yourself. You're not really feeling happy. It's kind of more of a situation of, especially in the earlier stages when when you start your business, you kind of believe, you also get to the stage where you're trying to build the business, build your client vault, build the revenue. I mean, what was it like, at that stage, earlier on when you're kind of coming into the space and you're like, okay, there are loads of other PTs, there are loads of other people that do this kind of training stuff. I'm now getting into a crowded market. When did it, what was going through your mind, and how were you dealing with this whole complex of competitiveness that was out there in the market?
Yeah, that's a great question. Typically when someone's in a startup mode, when they're first starting their business, gaining their positioning, getting credibility, they work a lot, right? You have to literally hustle because you're in this place where you have to develop cash flow, you have to develop a reputation, get people results. And in this business model, especially with local personal training, you're in a position where you're kind of a commodity, right? You're based on the person down the street. So if they charge a certain rate, you're compared to that. And I didn't really understand marketing at first. I didn't even have a website. I was just training people, and off the fact of getting referrals, I built my business. But the biggest problem came around 2008 here in the States. We had the big economic meltdown, and all of a sudden, all these clients that I had started disappearing. And I was losing money, and I wasn't making the money that I was making because the only way I was getting clients was based on referrals. And that's when I realized that, 1 month is good, 1 month is bad, and there's a lot of competition. Here in the States, we had this big boom of boot camps that came out. So I was, let's say, charging $75 an hour, and there was a boot camp. Give us $10 and we'll train you in a group. So it was all these things that were coming into place, and I knew very quickly that I had to differentiate myself in the marketplace.
Yeah. I mean, differentiation and standing out. I mean, obviously, value is one thing, and we serve to personally grow our clients, and we give everything and anything. I mean, I've had lots and lots of guys on and experts on the show recently who have given that kind of distinction between the fact that they have been happy totally in what they're doing and they've had to create some change, but at the same time it's all about the value, it's all about the serving. But all of what you've just been describing there is all of a sudden this kind of, how do you compete with someone who says, hey, just pay me $10 when you're actually over at $75? I mean, creating that differentiation also needs a little bit of time. So with the fact that you didn't really have a website and you're not really, you're not out there digitally, what were you doing to be able to engage those audiences to say, hey, look, it's not about $10, it's about the 75, and forget even the money, it's really about what I can do for you. I mean, you've got quite a prolific background on the fact that you were, like you say, you were overweight, and you kind of drove yourself to change yourself, the transformation in your body and your mind and stuff like this. So just take us a little bit through the journey of that kind of, the market was falling from underneath you. You're in this environment where most people will probably consider giving up. What is it that you were doing that kept you going in that such dark times?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially at the time, like I said, there was this big boot camp boom, and actually one of my friends at the time started a boot camp. His name was Gabby, and all of a sudden he was getting clients on the internet, and he was getting all these leads. And I was suffering. I'm I haven't got a client in weeks, and you're getting all these clients. What are you doing differently? And he's like, dude, I've learned this concept, and it's called direct response marketing. And I highly suggest you learn everything you can about direct response marketing. I'm like, what is direct response marketing? I understand what marketing is, but what is direct response? So one day I went on the computer and I Googled it, and wow, my mind was blown, because there were all these small businesses that were utilizing this type of marketing to grow and to position themselves and to really develop a stronghold in the marketplace. And for people that are listening, if they don't know what direct response marketing is, it's a very specific type of marketing for small businesses. For example, there's brand marketing. So Calvin Klein uses brand marketing. Let's say in Times Square, there's a billboard, and there's a dude wearing jeans showing his abs, and it says Calvin Klein, okay? Now, that's great for billion-dollar companies, but you can't really track how many pairs of jeans that ad is selling, right? It's for Calvin Klein, it's a household name. Yeah. But if a small business did that type of marketing, they would lose a lot of money to spend millions on the billboard where you can't track. Yeah. So direct response marketing, a good example is like Facebook ads, right? So Facebook ads, you spend $10 a day. You have the ad circulating. On that ad, you get analytics. How many clicks does it get? If people go into your website, if you make a sale, you could track it. So let's say if I spend $10 on Facebook ads, and that ad makes me $1,000, then I'm getting a 10 times return on my investment.
Yeah.
So that's a good ad. I'll run more of that. If I spend $10 a day a week, I spend $70 on Facebook ads and I don't make any money, I shut the ad off. So you get a lot more strategic with your marketing efforts, and that is what changed my life, actually.
That's really interesting. You bring this point about Facebook advertising and the stuff like this. It's kind of a minefield for a lot of people that are now coming into this. I think the industry, those that kind of captured onto it, someone like yourself quite earlier on and understood it and trialed it and tested it and then knew when to switch on and switch off. You're actually you're able to really benefit or get a lot of value out of that kind of process. We've got a lot of people that are coming into the market today. They're coming into a crowded market. They're looking at Facebook. I know a lot of people, even my clients, that come back and say, "Oh, but I've tried Facebook. I've spent like £400-500, and it hasn't done anything for me." There's a little bit that you mentioned in the bit that you just said, where when you put $10 down and you get $1,000 return in your service, you've got a tenfold return. When you've spent a certain amount of dollars and it hasn't worked out, you switch the advert off. But there must be some form of benchmarking that you're doing along that to say, okay, am I using my adverts to get people to my website or to, as a lead generation? And if you are getting that lead generation, but then your site's not converting, are you, is there advice that you give that people need to intrinsically look at every step and they have to make little leveraged lever changes during the processes as opposed to just shutting on and shutting off?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great example. I gave kind of like a broad idea of direct response marketing, of course, yes. But at the end of the day, that would be like a home run if you ran a $10 ad and made $1,000, right? But obviously, we're talking about, that's the advanced stage of Facebook ads. But if you're starting out, and that's what a lot of my students say, Facebook ads don't work for me, right? And I'm like, listen, it's not the ads that don't work, it's the part of the process that's broken. So there's multiple elements, and that's the beauty of direct response marketing. Is it the ad? Okay, is it the photo? Is it the copy? Okay, is it the landing page? Is it the copy on the landing page? Is it the offer? I mean, there's multiple variations, but the beautiful thing about this type of marketing is you could track every single variation. You could create 10 different photos with 10 different copies, 10 different landing pages, And one of the best ways to do it is you just throw a bunch of shit at a wall and see what sticks.
I love that. I absolutely love it. So here you are. You got introduced to DRM basically. You found this phenomenon. It's starting to, you're testing, you're piloting, you're validating what's working, what's not. All of a sudden, you're starting to create some sort of momentum. Now it's a situation of, I just want to flip my attention a little bit to the core of what you're doing and how you're delivering this, because it's all well and good having great Facebook posts and great adverts and great links and great website and conversion, but it's now the part of the service that you have to deliver. Because I suppose what you're doing is, as you're taking the customer through that early stage engagement, you're also building an expectation. You've now got potentially, let's say, a queue of people that are saying, right, I'm in for what you're about to offer me. Just take us through how you built and structured your approach to the market. I mean, we've had some of our guys talking about, especially when they talk about body transformation and mind transformation. I know you kind of help businesses also become more prominent online and stuff, but I am assuming that in the earlier stages you were still physically working on that whole body transformation side of ththings. Some start with the mind and then they go to body transformation. And there's a quote I quote you on that you say that, in order to have that kind of balance is it's not just about the healthy body. The healthy body leads to the healthy brain. That's what you kind of said. Can you give me a little bit more insight into how and what you did to build this service portal that you have today?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was just doing personal training, working with individual clients, it was just based on my own history of being obese and having no discipline. So I said, well, what did I do? And I taught people based on my own experience, and they connect with me a lot more because I wasn't a genetic freak. You know, I had to really struggle to lose the weight. So for me, I came to find that when I was training my clients, I was pretty much giving them similar advice. However, a small percentage of them were like crazy with the results. They were taking a lot of action. They were super disciplined. They were very coachable. And I love working with those people. And then you had another percentage of clients who just didn't follow anything. Like I literally like mapped it out for them. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and they would make excuses or they wouldn't do it, you know? So I was like, what's the difference between an action taker and a person who lacks discipline? And I noticed that it's the mindset, you know? So I'm like, okay, well, I need to get deeper into understanding how a person's mind works. I actually went back to school to get my master's in psychology. And that just blew my mind because I'm like, wow, you know, I can literally give a person the exact diet, the exact workout, but based on their mindset, that's how they apply it. And I forgot who said this quote, but it's a great quote. It said, if more information was the answer, everyone would be a billionaire with six-pack abs. Right?
I get that.
We live in the information age. I mean, right now on YouTube, you could find the perfect diet, the perfect workout. I mean, there's so much free information, but why is obesity a global epidemic? It's because obviously the psychologists be dialed in. So once I added that element to my business, I went from just teaching fitness and nutrition to teaching psychology. So it's the mind and the body intertwined with the synergy, and that totally changed my business, that changed my positioning. And then I actually went on to write a book called The Mind Body Solution, Train Your Brain for Permanent Weight Loss, because that was a missing link, but also that is what gave me the positioning to really create a global brand.
Amazing. And one of the things that I've heard today earlier, because I had Laura and Barry Ash from a company called Rock Solid that they founded a couple of years ago. They were on this morning, and they work within the similar sort of arena as you do here. Barry actually mentioned a point that actually what happens is you start to tell yourself, for example, if you've got to go to the gym, I've got to go to the gym, or I've got to do this, I've got to do this. You start telling yourself you've got to do it, and the minute you start telling yourself to do it, what happens is you start to create this process of questions or logics behind this, which almost talks you out of it. He calls it DINS. He goes, I start in the morning with a DINS, and I thought, what the hell's a DINS? And he goes, do it now. So it's rather than actually saying to myself, right, I got to go to the gym, it's a case of I'm going to the gym. So it's, you know, what is your take and opinions on habits and triggers and stuff like this and rituals? Because I'm sure as a part of the mindset, you know, parts of what we need to do, we need to have these forms of rituals and habits that form in. It's another thing that Jamie Alderton talked about a couple of weeks ago as well, and he's kind of, again, in that transformation arena just like you are. So I just want to get your opinion and take on things like rituals and habits.
That is a great question. Actually, it's so like timely because I did a live feed on my Facebook profile this early on like how to become a self-made millionaire. Yes. And that's something that I had a goal of for many, many years. And a lot of times I was looking for the how-to, the strategy. What is a strategy to become a millionaire? But when I really studied the deep advanced levels of psychology, I realized that it comes down to identity. So instead of what do I have to do, it's who do I have to be to earn $1 million, to deserve $1 million. And that's what I talked a lot about in my live feed today. Yes. And with fitness as well, when I became consistent with my nutrition, my workouts, my cardio, it was like a daily thing. I'm a fit person, and that's what fit people do, right? It's like brushing your teeth. It's not like I have to brush my teeth tonight at 10 o'clock and I got to figure out, do I start on the left side or the right side? No, you just go, show up, boom, it's finished, right? So I wake up every day, I do my cardio, I head to the gym, I eat my healthy meals. It's just what I do, right? And I look at the areas of my life that are not so optimized. They're the things that I have to think about. I have to decide, and I get fatigued because I overanalyze it, right? So there's in your life that you are successful at, that is who you are. It's your deep core identity.
Amazing. And I'm just going to pick something out very quickly from what you said there. And the reason I bring that question is I watched your feed a little bit earlier, so I know that there were a few bits and pieces in there. You mentioned one word which I've picked up on right now, where you said, who do I need to be, to be a millionaire, and what do I need to do to deserve to be a millionaire in that respect? That's a very, very original or authentic take on this. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? What do you mean by what do I need to do to deserve to be a millionaire?
Absolutely. So, like I said, in a perfect world, we'd all be billionaires with perfect abs. I mean, that's what everyone wants, but you don't get what you want, you get what you deserve, okay?
Yes.
So let's just say the simple goal of having $1 million in revenue, if you create $1 million in 1 year, or let's say in 1 month you earn $83,000 in 1 month, and logically you'll be a millionaire, okay? Well, that's a strategy. That's the end goal, but it doesn't quite work like that. You just can't manifest $1 million a year. You have to deserve it, right? So the marketplace always pays for value, right? So if a person says, like, how do I become a millionaire? Well, you have to add more value, because the more value you add to the marketplace, the more the marketplace rewards you with income. So what I say to myself is, like, what does a millionaire do? How do they think? How do they speak? How do they act? How do they carry themselves? Right now, what type of decision would a millionaire make if someone says, hey, I want you to fly over and do this speech? Well, I got to think like a millionaire. How much is my time worth, right? So all these things come into play as you're living your life. So it's when you start living like a millionaire, thinking, speaking, acting, and you fully believe in your full identity, then you have those millionaire ideas. You have the belief to ask someone, this is what I'm worth, okay? You want to work with me? This is my consulting fee, what have you. But it changes your whole identity, and it changes the world, the way the world treats you, and obviously you're adding that value to the marketplace.
Yeah, no, do you know what? That's a super bomb there, basically, because one of the biggest things that I have with the clients that I work with is they have a transition from career into business. They want to go for the freedom thing. They're actually hooked onto this perfect picture of lifestyle. Now, you just talked about the fact that you've got to walk the shoes of a millionaire. You've got to look the feel. You've got to understand what it takes, and more importantly, the type of decisions and actions that a millionaire would normally take in this respect. Now, what I find is a big draw gap or a holdback with people is when they're coming into the industry, they believe that they have this whole fear of putting themselves out at that kind of price range. You talked about, okay, you started at $75. I'm sure your sessions aren't $75 now in that respect, but the point being is, what is it? What advice do you have for people who are setting out? It doesn't matter what business they're in. I think the principle of what you're doing can actually roll out in anything, in anyone in that respect. But what is the advice that you have for people that say, right, I know I'm really good at this. I've got years of experience with this. I've got passion, enthusiasm, drive, conviction, but I'm so nervous about putting myself out at such a high price because I may be perceived to be too expensive, or people think I'm not good enough. That's one of the biggest things that I find is a confidence issue. You may find that in other areas, like within fitness and health and nutrition and mind in that sense. I find that in my industry, I've got a lot of this going on. What do you say to your clients, and what tips do you have for our audience?
Great, yeah. Again, going back into psychology, I'll say a line that I always tell my students: act as if, and soon you will become, okay? So if I want to create $1 million online business, I understand that I have to show up in a certain way, whether that's on video, on webinars, in front of the mass audiences, right? So right now, I could lack confidence and lack belief in myself, or care too much what other people think. But I know, again, my identity. If I'm $1 million online coach, whatever it takes, I show up. I'm confident, I'm myself. And I know that if I act as if, soon I'll become. So yes, believe me, there's a lot of times where I do a public speak and I'm nervous, okay? Sometimes right before I hit record on a video, I'm scared. I don't want to do it, right? But I fake it and then I make it, because the whole thing is, like, you can't rely on your feelings. You can't rely on always being high energy or inspirational. You got to do whatever it takes. And again, it comes down to that identity. Right now, if I was going to show up as $1 million coach, how would I act? How would my body language be? How would my passion be? Because I know I have a gift to give people. And my love for serving others is far more important than my insecurity about how I look on camera.
Amazing, amazing, amazing music. Because I think everything that you've done is from a heart center. It comes back right from the beginning when you went through that transition of changing yourself and being able to go through that hardship. I mean, it's tough, you know. I mean, you talk about the fact that you're clinically obese and all of this kind of stuff. There are people here that everywhere in the world that try and brush that kind of thought and feeling under the carpet, and they just think, you know, I am who I am and this is where I've been. And I think, you know, there is would you say it's fair to say that people have a second or third calling in life, and these opportunities are small and few and far between, but there is a difference between those that recognize it and jump up and take it, and those that actually sit back and actually refrain from actually putting their head up above the parapet?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. You know, I have been studying a lot about the death process and reading a lot of books about the regrets of the dying, you know, and I'm just so fascinated because, you know, my biggest service in life is to make sure that people live with their gifts. You know, I think the worst tragedy is a person dying with their music still in them. And that is really the worst regret of most people that are dying or on their deathbed. They look back on their life with regret, saying that, you know, I never started that business, or I never took that leap into starting that charity, or they never lived their truth. They did what society wanted, what their family wanted, what their spouse wanted, but they never did what they truly desired. And that's so sad, right? To live your entire life on this earth not being at your highest level. So I always tell people to listen. You know, I mean, I have a practice where I do a lot of journaling, I meditate, and I get really deep within. And what I've found is the more quiet you get, the more you can hear. So when you're in a place when you're listening to your intuition, you have this powerful inner voice that is always leading you towards new things. Sometimes they're scary, but a wise philosopher, Joseph Campbell, says, the cave you fear holds a treasure that you seek. So if intuitively you know that you should be doing a video, but you're scared to do a video, do the damn video, because that's going to open your next door, right? Because you know you need to do it, but you make all these excuses. Your heart says yes, or your mind says no. But if you fake it till you make it, press record and just do it, that's going to open up a door to another opportunity.
Yeah, now that's absolutely sensational advice there as well. In terms of, I love that bit where you say the cave that you fear the most has the reward that you're actually looking for. The thing is, a lot of the experts that I've had on and business owners that I've had on over the last 2 weeks, we've also talked about how much people need to invest in themselves, and I don't mean this just from a financial perspective. You know, Michael Serber, who was on earlier this week, he's in the top 1% of highly paid coaches here in the UK. And he came out with this real straightforward one. He goes, you could pay Tony Robbins $1 million to coach you. He goes, but if you don't have the skin in the game yourself, if you don't have this investment in yourself that you want it and you're going to do something about it, then it doesn't matter whether you pay $1 or $1 million. You know, there is this element about you that needs to happen and change. So I'm sure in your career, in your business, you have people that come in and they see the results because of, you know, through the direct marketing that you guys are doing and through the outputs of your clients. Because I see a lot of videos. I love the videos you do, by the way, with you and your clients talking about their transitions and transformations. That's a beautiful spot, because I know they're no longer your clients, they're almost your friends in that respect. They're part of your inner circle now in that respect. And I think those that are actually building those type of relationships, it just solidifies how well it is. But you must get people that come into you and say, AJ, get me a six-pack. AJ, I want to ask that bird out, but I need the guns, basically. And when they start with you, they just don't seem to have that skin in the game, that investment piece to them. Now, as much as it frustrates you, I know you've got a lot of clients who are positive and proactive and straight on the ball, but to balance that, you've got clients that also say they want to be there, but you can tell that they're not there. What is it you do with those kind of clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in every industry, whether it's weight loss, making money, relationships, I mean, there's people that want the thing, but they don't get the thing. And why? Because they don't have a why. That's why, essentially. Right? Like, I have students who apply for my program, and one of the questions I ask is like, why do you want to do this? What's your big inspiration? And sometimes I'll literally ask why 5 times. There's an exercise called the 5 whys. Why do you want to start an online business? Well, I want it because I want freedom. Why do you want freedom? Well, because I want to spend more time with my family. Why do you keep on asking why.
Yes.
And very quickly you find that people that are just motivated by money, they never become successful, because this is hard work. It's not easy. Obviously, it takes a lot of, overcoming your fear, stepping out of your comfort zone and serving people. But the people that are driven by a mission or a reason outside of themselves, they become very, very successful. So we are human beings. We're emotional creatures. We operate on emotion. So at the end of the day, it's really tapping deep into that emotion of why do you want to do it? Because most people say they want $1 million, a mansion, a Lamborghini, all those things, but obviously they don't give you fulfillment. What gives you fulfillment is transforming someone's life, changing the world in a positive way, having an impact, leaving a legacy. So it's really getting down to the core of why people do what they want to do. And also, let's say if they're falling off track or not following through, it's like, we got to bring them back to that, right? So if a person wants to be a provider for their family, they don't want to let their wife down, their kids down. They want to make an impact. So you have to listen, look who's watching you. Your kids are watching you every single day. Your wife's watching you. Be the man that you show to them, right? Sometimes you got to get a person back into that core reason of why they got started in the first place.
Look, just absolutely sensational in what you're saying there, and I fully agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying in this respect. I think that there is also this kind of saying and doing, and what I want to kind of move this onto a little bit is the facades that people see. So we are in a digital age. You said we're in an age of information. Our TVs are becoming what radio is to us today, and our smartphones are now our TVs. YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, all these social media platforms are now becoming the new channels, the new rage. It just seems as though everyone's in business to market how cool it is to be an entrepreneur, the life of an entrepreneur, the wealth, and how I'm succeeding. One of the reasons to why I started the League of Disruptors show is so I could spotlight your geniuses, because people normally just look at the top of the iceberg. They don't really understand what's going on under that water. And the whole idea of this the whole idea of this show and the platform is to spotlight what's going on underneath. What's the mechanics that are going behind there? You were at one stage you're starting out, and you had your first client, and and you worked your way through this. There is no overnight success. There's no instant remedy. And like you said, that if we were to all become, if it was all just about knowledge and information, then we would all be millionaires, billionaires, and have abs, etc. Now, how much more could we open up on this whole thing about hard work? Because hard work to some people just thinks, oh, okay, I just keep doing what I'm doing. But what I seem to find is a lot of people just keep doing the same thing that they were doing 6 minutes ago, which wasn't working in the first place. And they have this mindset that if I keep doing it that way, eventually it's going to turn out right. But we talked a little bit earlier about Facebook advertising and how you need to have different milestone areas, and you can look at different different sort of analytics that will tell you where things are going right and wrong. In the course of what you do when you're helping your clients from a mindset and a body transformation one way, but on the other side also helping them raise their profile of an online business, what is it that you have to enforce into them when you can see that they're still doing the same things, which is going to evoke the same results? I mean, how do you make them change that without shaking them and saying, "Wake up, dude! You're just blowing money down an empty tube, or you're just going to get the same result"? What else do you normally apply in terms of techniques to help people kind of realize that they're going about the wrong way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I go back to a legend named Martin Luther King, and he had a quote, I'm going to paraphrase, but he asked people, what are you willing to die for? You know? And he is leading by example. He's a great man who changed the civil rights movement here in the States.
Yes.
And he was literally willing to die for his cause. He got assassinated, but because of his assassination, it changed the whole racial landscape of our country and the world at large. So a lot of times, let's say the business example, people get into business for the wrong reasons. As I mentioned, for the money, for the fame, for just saying like, I have an online business, right?
Yeah.
But you have to really ask yourself, like, what are you willing to die for? Like, my message is so important that I will do it if I don't get paid. Like, I'm here with you. You're not paying me any money, right? I'm taking time out of my schedule. It's late for you as well. It's the evening. You can be with your family. But we're doing this because we're passionate about it. We love these conversations. We know that we're both going to benefit, but thousands of others are going to benefit as well. Yes. And we create this piece of content because we believe in it so much. So it's really like reevaluating your business. It's saying like, well, am I willing to die for this, right? If I didn't, if let's say, for example, you had $1 billion in your bank account, would you still be doing what you're doing, right? If someone said, I'm going to take this away from you, will it affect you? You know, so like all these questions, but at the end of the day, it comes down to that. Like, I'm literally willing to die for my message, my mission. It's bigger than me. So whatever it takes, I'm going to get it out into the world.
We are dropping some serious bombs with AJ Mihrzad today, guys. I just want to go into the audience and see who's here. Seaworthy Appreciation. Raj Katecha, I think you're either in India or Dubai. My wife's watching this, and I know my wife has a quite a Porsche for you, Mr. Mihrzad. She thinks you're a very nice-looking guy, so I've got some serious competition going down here. I just don't have the guns that you do anymore. That's the thing. Ash Raj is watching this. Wayne Large is here. Wayne Large runs his own studio in Devon. He's just recently been in my magazine talking about how the industry need to look at small businesses and the way that they're redefining stuff. Ozlem's on. Neil Alderson, one of my clients, and he's got a question for you, which I'm going to get over to you in a second. Robert Dean Smith's in the house. He's saying the what up and kapow and the impact 100. Parish Davadrad's on here as well. It's nice to see you. And Jimena Vargas from Colombia, who's now in Guatemala, is watching this as well. So we've got a nice mix of people here.
Heavy hitters on the line.
We got some heavy hitters here. You know, I think, you know, it's really powerful to see how you're embracing the psychology of stuff into this. I mean, you know, you're picking. It's not just you're throwing motivational quotes, or you're just throwing you know, hot air in terms of just to try to inspire people. This has got a much deeper rooted meaning to everything that you do, and it's what I see in this as well a lot, AJ, is like you said, you built this all from your own personal experience. You are preaching to people what you've been doing and still are doing. You know, whether it's paid or unpaid or this or that, it doesn't matter. It's the vision, it's the message, it's the outputs that you're looking to drive from, which drives you to your success. Now, you know, Steve Jobs once said this about the fact that success is just it's a perception that's bestowed on us by society, in the fact that, you know, success means different things to different people. So it's not about living, you know, for me, it's not about living or comparing my success to yours. It's actually just living my success. It's what I define is to be my success. Whether it's I want to do a marathon, a triathlon, or I want to get back to the gym, or I want to quit eating cream cakes, or whatever it is, basically, target and simplify your success model and give yourself these micro rewards. So make it easier to take those steps towards your success and reward yourself. Because you know what, at the end of the day, you went through 10 years of your life just burning the shit out of it, basically. You know, you sacrificed everything, your health, your family, your friends, your network, your weekends, your evenings to get where you get to. That doesn't mean that, you know, you put yourself or pat yourself on the back and say, well done, I made it. Actually, you actually had to come out of 10 years and redefine yourself and said, hold on, what I've been doing for 10 years, okay, great, I've got to where I've got to, but I'm never going to get to where I want to be unless I make this change, okay? So Neil, I've got this question from Neil Dawson, because he's taking lots of inspiration from this talk, especially as he's taken his own transformational journey. Neil, just so you know, AJ, he's a client of mine. This guy actually decided one Christmas that he no longer, he's looking at himself and feeling to himself, it's empty, he's not right, he's not feeling this, and he's transformed into, over a period of time, to now start doing triathlons. Now, through the triathlon, he's now started a consultancy called 3 to Try, and the whole idea of this is he wants to help people shift into this environment where they can actually fulfill parts of their potentials. You talked about this very, very early on in the conversation about you don't want to get to 70 or 80, and you've been reading about the book about what people regret before that, as they're dying in this respect. And I think Neil has this whole thing about he wants to take people through a transformation so they live that life without even thinking about what they're going to be thinking about when they die in that respect. But the question he's come up with is, he goes, what advice would you give to your clients about managing what seems to be constant need for instant gratification? He goes on to say, I know I used to look for the silver bullet, but completely changed my mindset, and then things dramatically changed. So he's asking, what advice do you give to your clients about managing what seems to be the constant need for instant gratification?
Great question, Neil. We're living in a world where we have so much information and technology, softwares, apps, social media competing for our attention, and it creates like this ADD environment, right? Because you have Facebook posts, you have notifications, read this, do that. There's so much stuff out there, and it's really understanding like, wow, this is changing the way our brains work. Like literally, our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and we are becoming this shiny object syndrome society. And it's really being aware of that, because all progress starts with awareness. This is the world that we live in. You can't change it unless you turn off your phone, get off social media, and go in a cave. You cannot stay away from all this, right? So it's kind of like understanding that this is the world that we live in, and it has some pros and some cons, but it's also what can you do to train yourself, right? So I mentioned early on that I meditate. Literally twice a day, I take 20 minutes. Sometimes I'll sleep, I'll take a nap, other times I'll just meditate, or I'll just visualize, I'll just sit in silence. Okay, well, what does this do? Number one, it allows me to observe my thoughts. So a lot of times I'm thinking on autopilot. We have like 80,000 thoughts a day. So it just take 2 breaks throughout the day to kind of observe, like, what's all this chatter in my mind saying? Is it serving me or is it hurting me? But it's also to be more aware of what your mind wants you to do. Because we mentioned, like, a lot of times, like, we want to do something, but our brain says don't do it, or there's fears. So a lot of times, like when it comes to instant gratification, it's doing what your mind does not want you to do. It took me years to successfully sit down twice a day for 20 minutes. When I first did it, the first time, for 5 minutes, I'm like, damn, I should be doing something. I should get up and do this and do that. But I'm training myself to not go for the instant gratification, to not check Facebook, to not go and scroll on Instagram, to not check my emails, right? And there's multiple ways. So that's what works for me. I have a friend who takes cold showers every single day. Every morning, he takes a 5-minute cold shower. He's a brave dude, right? But why does he do it? Because he trains his brain to say, you're not in charge. I'm in charge. So he steps inside the shower. It's freezing cold. He's like, oh, the body's going into shock. I don't want to do this. But I'm in control. I'm going to sit in this cold ass water because I'm in control. So it's, training yourself to not subject to like instant gratification, whether you meditate, you take cold showers, or you swim in an ice bath naked, whatever it is. You have to start to do this inner work, this inner discipline that will, lead off into your life, because it is true. How you do anything is how you do everything. So in the smallest acts, when you show discipline and focus, it goes into every aspect of your life.
Amazing. We've only got 15 minutes left with Mr. AJ Mihrzad. So if you've got any questions, please get them over to me. Otherwise, you're going to miss this opportunity. It's a golden opportunity. AJ, I want to move over while we're waiting for some of these responses and questions to come through. We've been talking about you. We've been talking about your business. We've been talking about your clients. I want to talk a little bit about your inspiration. What's next in store? I mean, you take these 20 minutes of me time to really open up and channel your thoughts. And I know deep down, somewhere along the line, a strategy pops up, even though you're not jumping on it straight away. But what does the next 10 years look like for AJ? Because I know I've been following you recently. You've got the house of your dreams more recently. I think you're renovating as well. It's an amazing place behind you. So you know, I think, you know, you seem to be living your life and living your success as you go along. You know, what's in store for you? You know, where do you want to be? What's the next thing for you?
I appreciate it. Great question. You know, I'm like super grateful to be where I'm in my life. With literally 5 years ago, everything I have right now was a vision that I had when I was taking those 20-minute me breaks, and I was like, how do I want my ideal life to look? The house that I live in, the career that I have, the people that I serve, my dream clients, even be able to have you interview me. It's an honor, right? You asked me to be on your show. You're a heavy hitter, and I'm grateful. So this is like a dream come true for me, so I could share my message. And I realized that, like, in every level of life, you cannot get complacent, right? I think that's the beauty of being an ambitious person, right? It's always, okay, I'm grateful for where I am, but I have a vision for the future, right? And I was reading recently that, you know, successful people are like 50-50, 50-50 living in the present and 50% living in the future, right? Well, depressed people are like 80% in the past, 10% in the present, and having anxiety about the future. So it's like understanding, like, okay, I'm super grateful for what I have, but what do I want to create? So I came down to like really understanding, like, what is my why? If I could get down to the core of what I do, what is it? Because I spent many years as a fitness professional getting bodies in shape. And then I got into the mind-body aspect where it was like helping people get in shape, but also making them happier. Yeah. And now I'm in a position where I help businesses grow. How can you increase someone's income, provide for their family, and have a bigger impact? So if I look at what is my superpower, what is the core thread that's underlying in all my businesses, is that I inspire people into action. So what I'm doing right now is, how can I inspire more people into action instead of thousands, millions, and billions? And I came to find that, like, the most powerful skill you can have as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as an influencer, as a legend in society is communication. So that is what I'm really focused on. I do a lot of seminars here in the States. I have retreats here at my house. I want to have more and more events when I connect with people. You know, this is a huge opportunity for me, right? Right now, we're on Skype. We're connecting with all these people. This will be recorded for literally thousands of years, you know? People can go back and take this content. So it's all about how can I improve my communication skills to inspire more people into action. So that's really the underlying thing that I'm focused on.
It's beautiful, because I think from this I get an air of legacy that you're trying to instill as well. So I mean this show, for example, is broadcasted live on Facebook. Within the next hour, it will be transformed into the playlist on YouTube. It's available continuously through the feed. So, you know, what we put on the internet stays there in this respect. But I think, you know, what you're talking about here is it's that ripple effect of what you're doing. You know, continue creating that disruption, continue with the consistency of what you're saying, what you're doing, how you're serving. And it's almost into the fact that you're leaving a legacy for others. Because I think, you know, there are people that are watching this or will watch this in the future who will be able to take some of your wisdom and be able to apply that into what they're doing to serve others, which means all of a sudden, even unconscious to you, you're creating that legacy. So that's what I get a feeling from. And is that important to you? Do you feel it's important? And I don't mean this from an ego way, but I mean it purely from the heart way. Is it important to you that you have a footprint and a legacy out there that not just say this is all about AJ? It's about what you believe has now green shooted out from being a plant into a real solid tree.
I appreciate you saying that. Great insight. And for me, it was, I guess, my own past of what I overcame. You know, I mentioned I was overweight growing up, but I also stuttered. Like, I literally couldn't finish a sentence for the first 20 years of my life. I had a speech impediment. I had a lot of insecurity, and then I got into drug abuse. I was literally doing cocaine and ecstasy and crystal meth, and I overdosed. I mean, I had a really difficult past. And if you looked at my life 15 years ago, you would never think, well, this guy will never be successful. He's a loser, right? I had a lot of insecurities. I had a lot of inner demons. And it was for me to now be in a position, like I literally had a near-death experience, an overdose that, like, I don't want to get into it. It'll take the whole episode. But that changed my life.
Yeah.
And that gave me a new lease on life. Coming out of that, I said, wow, I get a second chance. So if I were to die at that point of my life, I would have done nothing. So I felt like I was given a second chance to be a better person, but also inspire people to live a better life. So when I was coming up, I would always want to have a person like me to be in their life, because that's who inspired me, the authors and the audio books and the people that said, you could do it, you know, follow your dreams, work hard. I mean, it's possible. And then over time, studying fitness, changing the body, studying psychology, changing the mind, understanding marketing, persuading people to my point of view, I'm like, this is what I did. So I want people to know that, like, I was in the worst situation possible, being a drug addict, being overweight, not even finishing a sentence, stuttering, being very insecure. And then over time, taking action, gaining knowledge, hiring mentors, investing in myself, I created this amazing life for myself. So I want people to know that it's like, it's never too late. You're never too young. You're never too old. Your situation is not that bad. In a split second, you could turn your entire life around. So that's really the legacy that I want to live, you know, because at the end of the day, I just want people to know that it's possible, right? Whatever you want to do, like, the knowledge is there. The mentorship is there. If you believe in yourself and you take the appropriate actions, you can have whatever you want in life.
Yeah, no, this is sensational, because I mean, one of the things that I stand by when I give my talks, when I do my workshops, when I'm engaging with my clients, anywhere and everywhere, I talk about this whole thing of 1% change in perception. And this is what I stand for. I stand for this whole thing of 1% change in your perception equals 100% change in your results. And the reason why I do that is I believe in that our perceptions, the way we see things, is intrinsically linked to our behavior. And our behavior is modeled by our thoughts and feelings. And our thoughts and feelings shape the attitudes that we have. The attitude drives and influences the actions we take. Now, you talked about the fact that you've had a yo-yo past. You've had some really dark times. You're on the edge. And I think controversy and those kind of edges are in everyone's. In fact, everyone that I've interviewed have had something in their life which has almost been, whether it's a near-death experience right the way through to this is it, I've lost everything type of environment. And as I said earlier, we have this kind of position where I think in life we all get 2 or 3 chances at it to pivot. Some people see it, some people take it, embrace it. Others see it and it kind of just misses past them in this respect, and then they kind of look back in terms of either a resentment and a regretting kind of way. I wish I did. Now, with the stuff that you're doing and the way that you're doing it now with your retreats and stuff like this, I just want you to kind of give our audiences a little bit about the insight of the world of what it would be like to work with AJ Mihrzad. So, today we've got an audience watching, either live or recorded. What is it like to be working with someone like you?
It'd be an honor. First of all, like every person I work with, if they invest in me, I invest right back into them. So I love the fact that we have this ability of, creating something that we're passionate about, and people focus on our vision and we help build their vision, right? So my whole thing, like I said, my superpower is seeing greatness in others and being able to see the gift that a person has, right? And what has changed my life is actually the career of coaching, right? Being a personal trainer, then being an online coach, and now you could call me a business coach per se, is the ability to see someone and look at what are their superpowers. Now, how can we take that skill, that gift that they have, and leverage it using the right strategies, right? So in terms of what I do at my seminars, at my retreats, and my coaching program is really, number one, finding out what a person's superpower is. Yeah. What is this special gift that is unique to them? And then how can we now develop the right systems to scale that to the masses, right? So there's 3 main systems in a coaching business that you want to focus on. One is the marketing system, attracting your ideal clients. 2 is a sales process, creating a signature dream come true experience and selling that. And once you have a person enrolled in your program, how do you now create a virtual infrastructure that allows you to help many more people instead of working one-to-one? You help people one-to-many using technology, apps, software, the power of the internet. So it's really giving people the systems. Number one, showing them that it's possible, getting crystal clear on their target market, what is their superpower, and then saying, well, here's the step-by-step process to create this business, right? As we mentioned earlier, like everything that I teach is literally by example. Like I do it first, and then I say, well, this is what I did. So a lot of my students follow in my footsteps. They're best-selling authors. They have their own podcast. They do their own seminars. So literally what I do is I take a framework and I just make a done-for-you process and say, this is what I did. It works. Now you go do it too. So it's really just teaching people what I've done to obviously create the life that I have. And why do I love coaching? Why do I love this industry? Because it's very fulfilling, right? It's a legacy-based business.
Yes.
The beautiful thing about helping someone else with their goals is the fulfillment that you get in your heart, you know? Other businesses are great, you know, like let's say if you're selling a product or shoes, whatever the case is, but there's something special for me to work with coaches and work with personal trainers because I help them get more clients, become better at what they do, leverage more people, and they impact more lives, right? If I help a person now take on, let's say, 1,000 new clients, those are 1,000 people that are indirectly helped by the knowledge that they teach someone. So it just makes you feel so good at the end of the day.
Stunning. And that leads me quite appropriately onto how can people find you? How can people connect with you? How can people enroll? Doesn't matter where they're in the world. I'm sure they will be wanting to come now, especially to check out that house. And really, based on what you just said, bloody, I want to sign up to your course for crying out loud. So do you know, how you know? Just tell us, how can people find you? Your book, everything. Just give us a quick rollout on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place in the central hub that I have is my website. It's online. supercoach.com, and on there I have all my events whenever I do my retreats, my seminars. I also have different books that I have, right, in terms of growing your business, finding your superpower, and also have a free course on building your online coaching business, literally like a step-by-step video course that you could just start to take those initial steps.
Nice.
You know, so if you go there, you'll find all my information. And yes, anytime you come, I got 10 bedrooms here in New York, and one of them has your name on it.
OnlineSuperCoach.com. We're going to be putting that into the post very, very shortly. Very, very shortly. AJ, I'm going to be speaking to you in the future for sure for 2017 to come over. Let's do some stuff together. I would love to address your audiences as well. Really, I cannot wait to actually hear and feel you speak in person, because I think the energy that transcends from when you're physically in an environment is just completely different to what we can sort of build from an online space here itself today. But listen, we've run out of time. I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your day and spending that time with us here at the League of Disruptors show and all our audiences. I know that there are people here that are going to really get a lot of stuff out of what we've talked about, even though it's just been an hour and that hour's gone really, really quickly. And be sure to the fact that our horizons are going to be crossing over very, very shortly, for sure. So look, on behalf of Enterprise Lab and the League of Disruptors show, I wanted to thank you again for taking the time and coming on the show.
I appreciate you, Ketan. Thank you for having me on. Like I said, you have a lot of amazing guests on the League of Disruptors, and I'm honored to be one of them. And this is great. Like I said, you're putting so much time and effort to serve people, and I want to acknowledge you for that. Thank because you. All these episodes, your entire show as a whole is changing so many lives. So I appreciate you for doing this. I appreciate you having me on, and everyone that's listening right now.
No, I really, really appreciate that. Guys, that's it for tonight, basically. Just before I shut down, we've got another full packed day tomorrow with shows. So I promised you this week was going to be intense. We've got 2 experts on each day for the whole week. Tomorrow we have the one and the only Justin Devonshire. I know AJ knows Justin as well. And
good friend of mine.
Yeah, exactly. Mutual friends in Justin Devonshire, who's going to be talking to us about a little bit more about this detail of DRM and systems and processes, which AJ has tapped into today, actually. And straight after Justin, we have my friend Travis Dillard, Mihrzad, who's going to be coming on again, talking about transformation and stuff like that. Yeah, go ahead.
He's one of my students, actually.
I know. So this is why
awesome guy. He's doing big things.
He's doing big things. You know, Travis is. You know, again, I met Travis very earlier on this year in March when we were doing the Gary Vaynerchuk event here in London, and you know, I've just seen his growth over the last sort of period. So having someone like Travis on the show is going to be phenomenal as well. But that's it for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Got all the bombs. My name's Ketan Makwana. This is the League of Disruptors show, and I will see you guys soon.